Hey there, it is Rachel, and as I'm recording this, we are all at home. We are dealing with the issue of fears and worries because things right now are uncertain and unpredictable. But I can tell you that even before this global pandemic, there was a lot of anxiety, both in our children and in ourselves. I do a lot of public speaking, and one of the things I get asked to speak about most often is actually the topic of anxiety. So I want to give you a couple of tips that are relevant now while things are so, different for us, but also this is going to be relevant in the future for you as well as things go back more to quote unquote normal. So the first thing that I always tell parents when you're raising a child with anxiety is, I know our instinct is when our child is worried about something to fix it or to reassure our children. And that really is not what you want to do. So for example, what kids may have said in the past, they may have said, I'm worried about this test, or I'm worried that this teacher doesn't like me. Or these days, they may say something like, I'm worried that my friends will forget about me. Now, what our instinct to do is to tell them why they're wrong. Our instinct is to say, no, of course your friends aren't going to forget about you because, they're also stuck at home and they're not playing with anyone else either. We try to tell them that their feelings are wrong. And this doesn't help a child with anxiety. And there are two reasons. The first is that when a child is anxious or worried about something or having some fear, they are actually in a state where they can't hear you. What happens is when they're afraid of something, their brain senses that fear as a threat. So their brain turns on its fight or flight response. And one of the things that the fight or flight response does is it looks for all the evidence that it is right, and it disregards all of the evidence that it is wrong. So if you're telling your child, no, your friends aren't going to forget about you, everything is going to be fine, what your child's brain is actually doing is not saying, oh, you're right, I'm going to be fine. Your child's brain is basically saying, no, they're wrong. Look at all of this evidence that people are going to forget about me. People forgot about me when I wasn't invited to that birthday party, or whatever evidence they have in their brain, as flimsy as that evidence may be, that's what they're focused on. So when you're telling them their feelings are wrong, all that's happening is they're thinking in their minds, mom or dad doesn't get how bad it really is. So you're not convincing them that they should feel better. You're just making them feel more misunderstood. The other reason you don't want to reassure them, or what we usually do, is we fix the problem for them. You may say something like, well, I'll tell you what to do. If you're worried that your friends are going to forget about you, here's what you should do. That's another instinct we have, is to fix it, but we don't want to do that either. Because when you try to fix it, even if you came up with the best response ever, like maybe your plan was, okay, if you don't want your friends to forget about you, make them cards and send them the cards in the mail, and then they won't forget about you. Well, let's say your solution was amazing and it worked really well. What you've basically taught your child is that you have all of the solutions, and that if you're not around, they still have to worry. So you, instead of empowering them, you have made them believe very likely that they can't handle things unless you are around to come up with solutions for them. So again, we don't want to reassure, we don't want to fix. So what do we want to do instead? Ultimately, what we want to do is show them in the moment that we can handle their feelings and let them work through their feelings. Because when they feel safe, when they recognize that we are not getting sucked into their anxiety, their brain will actually realize that they are safe. It takes a little time for that to happen, but they'll realize that they are safe. And then you can empower them to find solutions. So here's what this looks like and sounds like. When your child is telling you that they're worried about something, like, I'm worried my friends are going to forget about me, what you want to say is, well, tell me a little bit more about that. And as they're talking it through, just listen to them. Even if they're not using words, though, because some kids can't actually put words to their fears, just stay calm, keep your voice, if you're talking, keep it, your tone low and slow. Don't get sucked into their yuck. And then eventually their brains are going to realize, hey, mom or dad isn't freaked out about this. I don't need to be freaked out about it either. So they will learn if you stay calm and in control of your own feelings and don't get sucked in. So again, you want to say something like, tell me about it. And then if they do talk about it, which many kids will, instead of telling them they're wrong or to think about it another way at this point, you just want to say something like, thank you for telling me. It helps me to know how you're feeling. So you're just letting them talk. You're not agreeing with them, but you're also not telling them they're wrong. Eventually their brains will realize, hey, it's going to be okay. And then you can move to the next piece, which is to say something like, do you want me to help you figure out what to do? So you're ultimately putting the solution on them, not on you, but on them. Now, if you say to your child, what do you think you should do about this? pretty immediately they're going to say, I don't know. I assume they're going to say, I don't know, because if they knew, they wouldn't be anxious. So they'll say, I don't know. So here's how you can empower your child. If they say, I don't know what to do, you can say something like, well, here's what I would do, but I'm not you. Can you tell me what you do to change my idea to make it work for you? So you're giving them some ideas, but you're also empowering them to figure out what would work for them. And the truth is, a lot of kids don't mind telling us that our ideas are stupid. That's great. Let them use our idea to bounce, to start from, and then they can make it their own. Ultimately, that's what you want to do to empower them. The more you empower kids to find their own solutions, the less anxious they are going to be. Now, you can also problem solve with them almost for fun outside of the moment. The more you're actually problem solving with your kids on a regular basis, making up fun problems, making up silly problems, the more you're doing that, the less difficulty they'll have in the moment when you talk to them about finding solutions. So ultimately, this is about letting your kids know you can handle their emotions, because then they feel safe. And then empowering them, once they can re-access that part of the brain where solutions and rational thought lives, empowering them to find their own solutions. So I talk a lot more about this in my podcast episode this week. If you want to hear a little bit more about how the anxious brain works, I encourage you to listen. You can go to my website at rachel-bailey.com/30, and you will find this week's episode of my podcast, Your Parenting Long Game. And again, this is episode 30, where I talk a little bit more about how to support your anxious, worried, or kids who have some concerns. I look forward to seeing you again soon.